Now today we look at farm matters and managing COVID-19. And with me, joining me on Zoom from Ukraine is Elijah, who is actually going to take us through how her organization has actually helped farmers globally and in Ukraine and USA in the fight against COVID-19. You're welcome, Elijah.
Thank you, Manly. First of all, it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for inviting me to your show. So the company, to tell you a little bit about EOS Data Analytics. So we are a trusted global provider of satellite imagery analytics. We are actually headquartered in the States, but actually one of our R&D offices in Kiev, Ukraine. That's where we have most of our engineers and scientists.
Yeah, what is the situation of COVID like in Ukraine and in the US?
I would say, unfortunately, the situation is like everywhere. It's not going very well. There are a lot of cases, but we are pleased with how the government is handling the situation. A lot of people are getting vaccinated. I have also gotten my vaccine just a couple of weeks ago. But of course, it has influenced and impacted some businesses across the country. But in our case, I would say the situation is a bit different.
With Elijah, we would wish to know what EOS Data Analytics does. What do you do, and perhaps how do you work with farmers in Ukraine, in the US, and also in Africa?
Sure. So when it comes, I would say, to working in Ukraine or in Africa, of course, I mean, if we talk, first of all, talk about Ukraine, Ukraine is a vast agrarian land. We have over 42 million hectares of land. Obviously, we need to help the farmers in the community by providing with innovation technologies. We don't only operate in Ukraine, we operate worldwide, but I think that this year, a lot of the focus has been around Africa. We understand that in Africa, 60% of the population is actually into the agricultural sector, but unfortunately and also surprisingly, very few of the farmers are willing to adopt modern precision agricultural practices and technologies into their daily lives. So I think one of the challenges is always to introduce high technology agricultural solution to farmers, because they are not aware on how to implement these digital technologies into their daily lives. So together with our local partners in Africa, we've already started and are planning to contribute more to training, educating the local market players, including farmers, agri companies, input supplier, insurance banks, etc., on how we can accelerate the socioeconomic well-being of smallholding and large-scale farmers in Africa through the satellite farming technologies.
Yes, Elijah, the pandemic has taught us that technology is the way to go, that in whatever we are doing, that actually technology is the way to go. For example, you're in Ukraine and I'm here in Kampala, but we are having a conversation on national television. So to what extent have you worked with the farmers, especially here in Africa, and more so in Uganda, so that they can embrace technology as a new measure to cope up with the effects of COVID-19?
So if we talk, I would say, about Africa in general, last year we started operating a lot in West Africa. We've partnered up with one of the local partners in Nigeria called Agro-Exchange Technology. And together the cooperation has actually been very fruitful. We are monitoring over 400,000 hectares in Nigeria, Ghana, Benin Republic. And with the implementation of the crop monitoring solution, we have realized that we have increased and improved productivity by 30%. And all of that actually is being done using an online platform. Now, of course, I can admit that we have achieved this goal, with the help of the local partners. The same thing, we have also partnered up with another company in Ghana called Complete Farmer, which is also a demand-driven digital agricultural platform. And with the help of our system, they have actually managed to save up around 40% of their field operations, because the platform could be used anywhere. You just have to log in, see what is actually happening in the fields. Even if you are in any part of the world, you can log in and understand what is actually happening in the farmers. When it comes to working in Uganda, we know that in Uganda, we are lacking, of course, at the moment, partners, because the technology there is not, I would say, that advanced yet. And of course, we are planning to change that with the help of the local partners. At the moment, we are monitoring around 50,000 hectares in Uganda. And if we talk about Africa in total, we are monitoring around 3 million hectares.
Yeah, at times of COVID, we realized that the purchasing power of Ugandans, especially for agricultural products, is actually gone down so much that there is a lot of fluctuation of prices for agricultural products, that we also see that even farmers are counting losses because now the market is not there. So in terms of technology, how are you going to help the Ugandan farmer so that perhaps they can be able to store their products, so that they can be able to add value to their products, so that maybe they can think of exporting them or storing them until such a time when the prices are good for them to sell?
Honestly, when the pandemic started, we were a bit scared that the business was going to slow down, as we have seen across the globe. And I think, it was the same sort of situation for every other organization out there. However, we've soon realized that it was actually the opposite. We've noticed a higher demand from the market on our solutions, and it keeps on growing. The platform can be used remotely, so you can still access our services from any part of the world. And I think COVID has only made people and companies realize the importance of adapting this kind of technology, considering its convenient use, creating a sense also of urgency in projects implementations. If we also talk about Uganda, 70% of the population, according to recent research, is actually also involved in the agricultural sector. However, in Uganda, we also did our own research and also talked to some of our users who are using our platform. We realized that in Uganda, the situation, unfortunately, in terms of agricultural, is not that advanced. So we are talking about poor agricultural practices. We are talking about low technological adoption, poor access to extension services, poor agronomy practices as well. However, farming productivity would be more profitable for the farmers locally. These challenges, though, are really the same as we have encountered in any other region in Africa that we are operating in. But after establishing successful partnership and projects, we understand that now it's the time for Africa and also for Uganda to invest in this kind of technology. And if we talk about the platform overall, here we are talking about anything from using different vegetation indices to understand the health of the crop, whether there are any problems, any disease, pests, to understand whether there are any sudden heat shock, cold shock affecting the crop. And all of that could be monitored just using the system without actually the need to go out there and see what is actually happening. So again, that saves costs for operational practices. The same case that I explained earlier when we talked about one of our partners in Ghana.
Well, Elijah, I want you to take us through how your technology has been received in Africa, because at times you find that Africans are used to their subsistence. The majority of Africans are used to the using of the rudimentary tools in terms of agriculture. So how are they accepting the change that, look here, this technology to embrace? And secondly, how fast are they in terms of learning to use the new technology you are coming with?
So EOSDA believes in the power of working with partners, because partners and resellers are the ones who understand the local challenges of the communities. If we go out there alone and we start working with farmers, I don't think this would be the right approach to do. We need to work with the local vendors who understand what the farmers are after or what the farmers need. And of course, our kind of technology is, I would say, very advanced in terms of explaining the vegetation indices and all the parameters that we display within the system. But we certainly believe that the local partners will help us better understand the domestic agricultural practices of the market in Africa and the needs of the farmers. So what the partners are doing, they are taking our technology and they are facilitating and making it easier by taking our data, interpreting it in simple words, and delivering it to the farmers. The delivery of information happens through workshops, educational lessons, and of course they also deliver very simplified reports where the farmer will just like open up the report and sees that, okay, I have a problem in this field. I know that I need, for example, to add extra fertilizer in the area in order to boost my field productivity so I can have a higher yield outcome down the line. So if we do it, let's say, directly with the farmers, this is not the best approach. That's why we welcome any partner or any reseller who's interested to work with EOSDA in Uganda, so we can make sure that we are delivering the right kind of technology to the end users by making sure that the technology is going to be successful. Because when we actually realized last year, when we started partnering up a lot and expanding, I would say, our operations in Africa, we thought that it was going to take time. We thought that it was going to take time in order for the partners to roll out this technology and expand our operations there. But I mean, we started with monitoring, for example, with one partner in Nigeria, the one that I mentioned earlier. We started monitoring 100,000 hectares within 1 year. We've managed to map over 400,000 hectares, and that is only in one country. And we went from 500,000 monitoring of hectares up to over 3 million hectares across Africa. So I don't think that it is actually difficult to roll out these kind of technologies. There just needs to be an acceptance that now is the time to take this technology and implement it, because it's going to facilitate the farmers' lives. It's going to facilitate the agro companies, anywhere, I would say, from insurance to agricultural cooperatives, farmer cooperatives, banks, insurance, etc.
Well, Rim Elijah, how are you working with the government? Because in most of these African countries, definitely such programs can only succeed if you're working well with the government, especially here in Uganda. The Ministry of Agriculture, responsible for agriculture, the Ministry responsible for science, the Ministry responsible for ICT. So how are you working with them so that you can register much or more success within a short time?
When it comes to working with the government, we only work with them through, again, our partners, because they are the one who understand what the market needs. So they can take our data, they can simplify it, they can construct it in a way that it appeals to the government, because the government will take a look at the reporting that the partners have prepared using our technology, and then it will make it easier for the governments to actually to be sold on the idea, to take this kind of data and understand that now is the time to invest. However, based on what we've observed, I would say, in the market, the governments are a bit hesitant in terms of implementing. It takes a lot of time to make a decision whether we need, for example, to introduce a crop monitoring platform, whether we need to introduce a technology in order to understand the yield prediction or yield modeling, which is based on historical data. So we are trying to push their interest, I would say, through the partners, through our local representative, because that would be, again, we believe that this is the best approach, because that way we can adapt our technology so it can also suit the needs of the farmers in Africa. Because again, considering we operate worldwide, anywhere like from Brazil, Argentina, to Asia, to the Middle East, but in Africa, the situation is a bit different. We are talking about many smallholder farmers, each farmer owning 1 hectare and less. And also a lot of the farmers are located in remote areas where it's difficult actually to go to them and access their kind of data. And also, if we talk about the general situation in Africa, unfortunately, there isn't a lot of information that we can depend on in terms of looking at the historical data. So if you would like, for example, to look at historical yield data, what was kind of crop, for example, that was growing 2 years ago in this field or in another area, it's difficult to get this kind of data. So with the help of this platform, with the help of satellite technologies, we're actually able to not only provide crop monitoring system, but we're also able to provide the crop classification. For instance, we've operated with the World Bank a couple of years ago in Ukraine, where we had to classify the entire country from field level up to country level. So we provided field boundary detection, and we also provided the kind of crop that grows in each area. When we talk about this kind of solution here, we are talking about understanding every single kind of crop that grows in each area. This will help governments also understand their import and export strategy. This will also help input supplier. That will also increase yield prediction. We can understand that if, for instance, we are lacking a selective kind of crop, then with the help of this technology, we are able to go out to the remote areas, for instance, and understand that, no, we actually have that kind of crop in our country, but we didn't have access to that. So that's why I believe by rolling out this kind of technology, it will facilitate not only the lives of the farmers, but also all the agricultural companies in the region, and also the governments. But of course, there needs to be, I would say, demand, and also we need the help of the NGOs that are operating across Africa, because we have also observed that a lot of the NGOs are actually pushing for the farmers and for the countries in Africa to adopt all new technologies related to agricultural. So we also
Elijah, if you can hold on to your point, let's look at your 5-year plan for Uganda and in general for the continent of Africa. What is it like that perhaps in 5 years from now, what is your plan for the farmers in as far as using and adopting your technology is concerned?
So as you might know, and everybody knows, nowadays we understand that we need to protect our Earth, we need to protect our planet. We need to meet the demand of the growing population, because according to the statistics, the world population is going to reach 50 billion by 30 years from now. And here we already need to think about how we're gonna supply, or how we're gonna supply food to people stable. So this is also one of the growing issues, I would say, one of the things or the motivations that drives people to implement, again, satellite data technologies. For example, issues or let's say matters related to import and export, matters related to poor agricultural practices, all of these things actually will help us, I would say, facilitate everything, but again, through the adoption of this kind of technologies. And also what I mentioned earlier, one of the key challenges, I would say, in Uganda is the low technological adoption of satellite data. Considering we're only monitoring 50,000 hectares, which is not a lot when you think about how many hectares we are monitoring in other parts of Africa. So we understand that we need to provide access, we need to extend our services, we need to go out there and educate the agricultural world that there is this kind of technology that will facilitate their lives, that we can increase, for example, yield prediction for all the farmers across the country. But these challenges, though, I mean, are really observed not only in Uganda again, but also again across Africa. So the aim is, first of all, or the key, I would say, is to establish these successful partnerships. The partners afterwards will go out there, educate the local farmers through the implementation of workshops, smart farming institutions, as well as becoming actually ahead. And also a lot of our partners, especially in West Africa.
Time incidentally is not our best ally. and you've talked about the low technological levels in Uganda that call for actually mobilization and sensitization of the masses. So how are you going to sensitize the masses? How are you going to mobilize the masses in Uganda, of course, and many other African countries, so that they can work around the clock to raise their technological levels in terms of working in the agricultural sector? Remember, agriculture is the backbone of the economy, not only in Uganda, but to many of the African countries, but also majority of Ugandans, and as the majority of Africans are in one way or the other engaged in agriculture.
Mm-hmm. I would say for Uganda, there is a huge potential to generate more wealth by engaging in the export of processed agricultural commodities and simple manufactured goods to the region. And this is not only applicable to Uganda, but also to the neighboring countries. So we need to spread the word, right? We need to generate publicity. We need to educate the population, let's say in Uganda, that there is this kind of technology that will make their lives easier, that will allow them to monitor their fields, that will allow them to send notifications if there are any problems, any anomalies in their field, so they can attend to their field in a timely manner in order to avoid problems in the future. For example, here we could talk about removing weed. I mean, a simple practice of removing weed before crop emerges is going to actually increase yield by at least 20 to 30%. And this kind of practices actually could be observed just using the platform as it is. But of course, we need to generate publicity. We need to go out there, either through the help of the partners, through the help of the NGOs, through the farmer cooperatives concerned. They have access to all the farmers across the country. So I think PR in this scenario, conducting these workshops, conducting, these kind of interviews as well. This is the thing that's gonna help the farmers, I would say, realize that there are tools out there and that now is the time to actually invest in these tools or to adopt these tools in order to help their lives.
Well, I can see really, because time is not our best ally. In 1 minute, your parting shot to the viewer, and your last word to the farmer in Uganda who is actually now anxious to working with you to using your technology so that they can better their production.
Could you please repeat the last part? I think the connection is not at its best.
Your last word, the word of hope to the farmer who is viewing this program on how they can use your technology to better their production.
I think, well, for the farmers, first of all, it's very important to understand that one of the key growth drivers to boost their field, to boost their yield prediction, is to adopt smart farming technologies in order to take it to the next level. Our goal is to continually draw attention to the main challenges that the farmers are facing and answer how Tech Boost will stimulate the production outputs. So if, of course, some farmers might be hesitant to adopt these kind of technologies, but rest assured that we have you will have all the support that you will need. You will have all the educational programs, all the information that you need in order to make sure that you can easily and successfully implement this kind of technology, to solve the problems that you are facing. So I think with a bit of support from our side, and with a bit of support from the local partners and the local vendors, we'll be able to realize, and it will also help farmers realize that now is the time to adopt satellite data technologies.
Well, Emma, thank you very much. Elijah, the Vice President of EOS Data Analytics, for taking time off your busy schedule all the way from Ukraine, joining us on Zoom, really to share this very, very pertinent information with the farmers here in Uganda. And I believe, of course, every other time, once in a while, we shall always engage you so that you can give as much information to the farmers so that we can better our production in Uganda and also better household incomes. I'm Mande Akol Amazima saying bye-bye.